So one of the most anticipated strategy games of this year is just around the corner, and so today I'll be sharing with you some exclusive new gameplay footage of MENACE, a gritty turn-based tactical shooter coming out later this year. Hey everyone, Marco here, and a big thanks to the publishers Hooded Horse for sending me this new gameplay footage which came straight from Gamescom, but take note that this is not a full representation of the final game, but enough for me to give you 5 reasons as to why I can't wait to play it. But first, here's a quick overview for those who are still a bit unfamiliar with MENACE. It was announced 2 years ago and being developed by Overhyped Studios, the same folks that brought us the epic Battle Brothers, another turn-based tactical RPG, except that was set in this gritty fantasy medieval world. But this time around, the dev team wanted more of a modern military feel, with you running your Republic Marine Corps strike force, but there are still some fantasy elements thrown in here too, which I'll get to later. Honestly though, it gave me a bit of XCOM meets Company of Heroes vibes, as you've got squads to look after instead of single units, but don't think that there will be any less customization. MENACE is also coming with procedurally generated multi-mission operations and battle maps that all have this war-torn look to them, along with a whole bunch of ways to take down your enemy. So here are my 5 reasons as to why I'm so looking forward to this game. First up, like with many great turn-based RPGs, we start with the character selection. You can pick 4 initial squad leaders or just go with a random selection. Hovering over them, you'll see a short bio with their backgrounds, affiliations, and so on. Also a neat squad badge to help you distinguish them in battle. There are also these tiny white icons in the bottom left indicating their profession, like vehicles or infantry, which seems quite interesting as both will play very differently, but I'll get to that later, don't worry. Then we jump to the ship customization part of the game. From the look of things, you'll be able to upgrade your ship with various rooms and attachments like the med bay, the sensor, and the woo, as well as different weapon upgrades like the minigun strafing. This, along with others, can be used during battle to help you out, like the minigun strafing that can fire off screen and the med bay which can help revive a fallen teammate during battle. On the left, we also see some menus XCOM fans will be very familiar with. We've got the system map, the squads, the black market, and also hiring. So yeah, you'll be able to hire more people to make it feel more personal than other games that just give you those predetermined characters, which is something I always enjoy. Like, I just want to play games where I can create my own adventure. So devs, can we also rename our units? Let me know. Secondly, one of my favorite parts of turn-based tactical games is that customization, and MENACE is not short on that. Jumping into the squads menu, we can now customize those chosen leaders. With Lance Corporal Jane Derby from the 103rd Recon Black Sleeves, there is a bunch of info thrown at us, including weapons, armor, stat points, and perks on leveling up. The weapons look very cool. We've got SMGs, carbines, shotguns, and battle rifles, and I'm pretty sure a whole lot more to choose from that we don't get to see in this footage. Then you also get a special weapon, like a flamethrower, a medium machine gun, and even a rocket launcher to flatten the enemy, where each shows off this neat little graph of accuracy and damage versus your range, as well as a bunch of other cool stats for you to admire. Then the upgrade or skill tree comes on, and you'll notice that you can then choose from a few upgrades when you level up or get a promotion, which are pretty straightforward, like disabling special attacks for 1 turn, better concealments, etc. But what is cool is that they've been set up to go with your playstyle. So if you prefer being more of a lone ranger out back or more team-based orientated, the choice is up to you. However, you will see that each squad leader has random ones, so I'm guessing that they are chosen randomly from a pool as well as depending on your leader's specialization. Like Renu Rera, for instance, has Expert Pilot, where she can use 50% less action points for turning or reversing her vehicles. Speaking of which, because she's a vehicle specialist, she has vehicles instead of weapons in her slots, which can still add modular upgrades to them, which I think is crazy cool. Overall, I am loving the customization setup. There is tons of flexibility for playing the way that you want, but still gives you unique roles like the vehicle specialist to keep things interesting. So yeah, I just think it's perfect for fans of XCOM that want to spend hours just tinkering away for that perfect squad layout. The third part that looks really cool here is that before you jump into a mission, you'll get this mission prep screen that will allow you to see what needs doing but also where you're going to be placed. In this mission, for example, where you need to secure this combat outpost, it gives you a map on the left that comes with some important details of enemy whereabouts. Then you also get to place your squads wherever you want. Well, I think so. Although probably further away the better, as you don't really know where other enemies could be. The mission puts you against some pesky pirates, as well as a sandstorm that might just spice up how you play. Plus, you can also see the gear for each squad and who is leading it before you get going. Some people might just want to get in on the action, but I think the devs wanted to lean more into the strategic side of things, so even before you fire your very first bullet, you can still determine where you need to be and how to approach each objective. Now, obviously, the fourth reason why I can't wait to play it, well, it's just this gameplay itself, which just looks amazing. By now, you might realize that yes, your squad leaders will have their own little team to take care of, or squaddies as it's called in MENACE. Well, except for Rewa or Rewa. She's just got her vehicle, which can be then used to transport teams if that's what you're into. But obviously you'll want to be taking down enemies with her guns as well. It does seem quite zoomed out at times, but you can zoom in too, I guess because it's focused more on a bigger battle map than just being up close in a game like XCOM, which makes sense as now you're in charge of multiple squads and vehicles. However, you still get some up close shots and some hilarious voice lines from the enemy.
To my ship.
Actually, speaking of voice lines, it's also cool hearing different voices from your squad leaders. It just makes it feel more polished and personal in a way.
You're not dead. I looked way worse than that.
And like I said earlier, it did remind me a bit of if Company of Heroes was turn-based, as that was the last time I was controlling multiple military squads. Then there are the graphics, which lean more into the realistic style, and I dig the various buildings and objects that are scattered all over the place. I'm also really liking the style and the animations of the units themselves. It also just feels very realistic. But back to the combat, like with most turn-based games, you'll be using AP or action points for your moves, and so once they're up, then your squad's turn is now over. MENACE also includes fog of war, so you never really know what's out there, meaning that you have to be strategic most times. Then further in the mission, we see some of the UI when controlling a squad, like what weapons to use and how you can use them, and how many squaddies you have left. Looks like you'll be getting free aim for where to fire, but it's more like just which block you'll want to focus on. It does look a bit plain in some areas, but I guess that just depends on the map you play on, so hoping to see more of that in the demo, which I'll get to later. Okay, cool, so you complete the mission, now what? Well, you get to unlock new items, rewards like a new weapon or other gear like this flying bot for recon, plus more points towards upgrading your squad leaders. It also gives you an overall rating of how well you did in the mission, as well as this difficulty multiplier, alluding to the fact that you'll be able to make it more intense or harder, perfect for all those XCOM veteran players out there. This mission took about 20 minutes to complete, which looks to be like the average playtime, which I think is great as you don't always want them to drag on for a very long time. Next mission I got footage for was this one called Thwart Invasion, where you'll need to sabotage supply infrastructure. It seems that weather might play a role in how you play, as here it shows you getting a clear day in this mission. You start off in broad daylight in the desert, using rocks and cacti for cover as you take down some pirate outcasts. If I pause just before the attack, you can also see that there's no percentage of hitting a squad, but rather an accuracy level as well as other metrics like armor penetration and suppression. Things like cover and deployments will also impact on your attack. And going back to those animations, I think they just look really cool. It could be a bit more natural in some places, but for the most part, everyone seems to act like they know what they're doing. Then there's this other mission that sees you repelling a counterattack during dusk, so intense shadows and vibrant yellows flood the screen. This player needed to defend this area from pirates, where Renu gets to use this weapon called the Crocodile from her tank that just wrecks the enemy, and also the ground that they're on. So destructive environments, here we come. And then she also takes them down using her MG. Well, I guess the squad next door picks the last one or two pirates off. Again, such cool animations. Then to mix it up, your team uses a strafing run from your ship to wipe out a few more that were deployed further out. Overall, I am loving the mission variety and just the general combat overall. It's still a bit early, so I can't knock too much, but already this footage is giving me a lot of confidence that this game is going to be incredibly fun yet still challenging to play. Then lastly, another reason why I'm so hyped for MENACE is the consistency from the developers. They've been very active in their dev diaries, and the latest one let us know that the demo is dropping late September. Yes, like in a few weeks from now. Naturally, it might change a bit from how we see it right now, but the devs did say that they want it to be as bug-free as possible. The demo will focus more on the tactical combat aspect of the game and will feature a full-scale operation coming with some procedurally generated missions. This means that the missions themselves will be different every time you start the demo, including item rewards, new army compositions, maps, and so on. So in other words, the gameplay will change each time you play it. Also in their recent dev diary, they also teased an alien wildlife faction, so yeah, there's going to be some big bugs to take down too. MENACE is coming out on PC sometime this year, which I guess will be determined on the feedback from that demo. All I can say is that fans of turn-based tactical games, especially Battle Brothers, XCOM, and maybe even Phoenix Point, should definitely have this on their radar if you haven't done so already, as we so desperately crave some combat like this. But that wraps up my video. If you enjoyed it and want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe, or even become a member to help keep my channel running. But other than that, it's Marco here from Easily Distracted Games, and as always, don't stop gaming.